So you guys don't seem to care about Ant-Man and Rocket Raccoon, because I make the video, I go in depth on both of their uniforms, and like half the comments are talking about Iron Man and how he needs justice and how his uniform isn't good enough and whatever, and okay, fine. I appreciate your passion. The smallest Avengers didn't really tickle your fancy, although I appreciate you watching the video anyways, but I am listening, so here I am, less than 24 hours later, going in for Tony Stank. Now, I don't have his uniform very built up. I don't have it built up at all, actually. And my suspicions are kind of in line with your suspicions, that it's not enough. But I wanted to do an in-depth look, and I've done a lot of research and background information already, because when you go and you look on the uniform list, it says, wow, 5 skills changed. And it doesn't even list his 6th skill, his tier 3 skill. But I wanted to see really how much of that is impacting the character, so that we can really get to the bottom of A, how much work did Netmarble really put into Tony's skills, B, what changes need to be made to make them actually good, and then C, what can you expect from this uniform. Now, I'm pretty low on resources as it stands right now. I know I'm still a whale, so it's whatever, I can just get more resources, but I've been sacrificing, I've been grinding up extra ones of these so that I can go into the lab and spend all of my feathers, and that's why I have barely any feathers left, so that I can make more of these, so I can upgrade more uniforms. I know it's all a very, thankless process. I've got this one heroic, I've got these two already at legendary, and so on and so forth. But I'm really strapped on resources. So what we're gonna do, because this poor bastard is probably never gonna get his tier 3 from me unless mountains are moved. I'm gonna show Iron Man a little bit of love. You guys are always getting on my back about Black Panther, about Iron Man, that I don't like these characters, that I treat them badly, that I ignore them, yada yada yada. So okay, fine. Just to make the comparison fair between this uniform and his Infinity War uniform, which I grinded up to Mythic, we are going to upgrade his Endgame uniform. What are the chances that he gets a uniform if there is a second part of this update? Very unlikely, I would say, and you know what, having the uniform at Mythic is still going to be useful in the future, because it'll be an option for another uniform, and like you guys said, I'm a whale, so I can just purchase more of these, and this is mostly for you guys, to be honest. So we're going to go ahead and do this. Generally speaking, you do not want to use Mega Mythic uniform tickets on farmable characters. This uniform is technically better than some other uniforms because it has the higher cost. It's the 1050, so you don't want to use it on cheaper cost uniforms that are 750, like Ant-Man's new uniform for the time being, or other uniforms, the Doctor Strange, etc. Well, you can't even use it on Doctor Strange, but the point being, you generally want to save these for paywall characters, so your Killmongers, your Luna Snows. If Ironheart got a new uniform, if, let's say, Rescue comes to the game and she's a premium character and she has a uniform, or Okoye or whatever, that would be who you save it for. But you know what, here on the channel, I'm doing it for you guys, so we're just not going to save it. I do need to change these really quickly, so we're going to look at what we had on the old one: attack speed, energy, cooldown, dodge, crit. And we're just basically going to try to mirror that. Attack speed, there we go. Energy, attack, nope. Physical, let's get energy, defense, energy, attack. There we go, and that's a decent roll. This one should be skill cooldown, although the number is a little bit lower, I believe, than it should be, so we may need to make some additional tweaks. This one was dodge, also seems to be a bit low. Actually, maybe not. The dodge is over here in the thousands already. All defense seems pretty nice for Tony as well, but I think the dodge is a little bit more useful. Imagine having a max movement speed character. Okay, dodge. Where are you at, though? Okay, dodge. I swear this happens to me at least once per character, where the one that I want is the one that will never roll. There we go. And that's an almost perfect roll as well. It's 2 off of perfect. And then the last one, energy attack, is already there, and it's a pretty decent roll. Oh, we don't want energy attack, right? We want crit damage. Damn it. Do I really want to reroll this one? Let me see here. Heroic, Mythic, Advanced, Heroic, Legendary versus normal, Mythic, Heroic, Legendary, Advanced. I think the new uniform is better, but this is the one we have to look at because it's 1200 versus 900, and fine. You know what? We're going to make one more upgrade for Tony Stark. I cannot believe I'm actually wasting this level of resources, but now we are in the thousands, so we're not that far off. But I think we're still going to need to change this one. I'm still unranked, by the way. We're going to need to change this one for... No, you know what? Oh, for crit rate. Yeah, I think we do need to change that for crit rate. It's quite low, 44%. And yeah, it's nice to have whatever 28,000 energy attack, but we'll get over that. We do need that crit rate in the 1400s. That was, there we go, 1445. Perfect. All right, so we've got our new and improved Iron Man Endgame. How much better is he? We've got 27,000, almost 27,500 energy attack. We got 53, 194, maxed out on movement speed, or cooldown, sorry, and ignore defense. But really, we want to get into the nuts and bolts of the character. So I went ahead and I tested Endgame versus Infinity War. Now, just to make it very clear, if you don't have either of these uniforms, every other uniform, I'm talking Civil War, 2099, Age of Ultron, they were all garbage. Tony only came to usefulness and came into relevancy with Infinity War. It basically took him from zero to hero, and Endgame takes him just a small bit further in my opinion, but still not enough. For those of you that have the Tier 3 variety of Iron Man, I think you'll notice that small bump to be a little bit larger because his Tier 3 skill does get a sizable buff, but otherwise, for all you Tier 2 Iron Mans, it is not a big jump. And yes, it's exactly the same for the Team Suit. Somebody mentioned that Team Suit is always better than the Endgame Suit because of the Team Suit bonus, but the Team Suit bonus is super negligible. You know, it's increasing the Striker bonus by 5%. It's giving you a 1 guard hit. I mean, the bonuses are, you know, so small that you may never notice them, and they might not even trigger before the battle is over. You know, they trigger once or twice per world boss run. It's really not a huge difference. And visually, I mean, come on. You're not going to tell me that these are the same. This looks beautiful. This looks like a toy from Walmart. So anyways, how are these uniforms different? Endgame versus Infinity War. So I went ahead and I looked at the skills. I compared the skills for the number of hits, which is very important. I compared whether it has an iframe or not, and then whether they change that for Endgame. And then I also compared the actual damage numbers. So the damage number is not super important. It's not the only way, or it's not the way to calculate the damage. It's really complicated, but it is somewhat important because usually if a skill has a high percentage, so this is energy damage 131, I'm talking about that 131%. If it has a high percentage and it has a lot of hits, it'll do, you know, quite a bit of damage. There are other things to consider, but generally speaking, that is one way of measuring it, although there are definitely exceptions. I'm not saying that's the way for every character. On the other hand, if it's got a low percentage and low hits, it's generally going to do low damage. And so those things are necessary, and those are things that they can change that you may not notice, and that will still show up on the uniform effect change list. And you remember, they said that they changed all 5 skills, so let's investigate. So looking at Infinity War versus Endgame, you'll see that from these two lists, there's not a lot of changes. So Infinity War, he's got 6 hits, 14, 15, 15, 14, and then 34. And you've got the damage numbers there, and you've got whether it's an iframe or not. So he really only has an iframe for Infinity War on one of his skills, which is his 6th skill. He's got a partial iframe, or he's got an iframe on 3 as well. But other than 3 and 6, he's got no iframes at all. So it's pretty bad for Infinity War. However, with Endgame, we've got a little bit of a change. He added an additional iframe on 1. So he's now got 2 full iframes if you have him at tier 2. He's got the iframe on 1, and he's got the iframe on 3, and then he also gets an additional iframe on 6. So they didn't take away any iframes, they just added an iframe. Okay, so what about the percentages on the attacks? The percentages on the attacks are all exactly the same. So technically speaking, until this point, they've made one skill change. They changed the first skill by adding iframes with the Endgame uniform. Okay, so how the hell did they change the other skills? Well, they changed it by adding a couple of extra hits. So now if we put the 2 stat numbers side by side, you can see that his first skill deals 2 more hits than his Infinity War first skill. His 4th skill deals quite a few more hits. It's 25 versus 15. There's additional rockets, or kind of missiles that shoot out at the end of the skill and they blow up. Those missiles are what activates the all defense down. However, like Rocket and Wolverine and other classic Marvel characters, the all defense down does not work in World Boss Ultimate. Doesn't that make you super happy? It makes me happy, not sarcastic at all. Additionally, his 6th skill is the other huge change. Instead of giving 34 hits and then summoning the clones who have 60% of his stats, now there are no clones, so the clones are completely removed. The additional Iron Mans don't stay around. They don't stick around, but they combine to make one much larger, much more effective blast, and it's like this blue beam that kind of just jitters along the screen, kind of like Sharon Rogers' 5th skill with the Darkstar armor, where she summons that red spike, and it kind of just travels slowly through the enemy. And this now hits for 65. It hits 65 times, 65 hits versus 34. So they've almost doubled the number of hits, which technically should about double the damage because the percentage is still, you can see there, 200% of energy attack. So there have been massive changes to his 6th skill, some meaningful but minor changes to his 1st skill, and then some basically superficial. Let's go with superficial. That's easier to say. Basically, the 4th skill looks like it's changed, and visually it's changed, and the little pretty words there say that it's changed and it looks OP. But then you go into the game mode and it's still a piece of shit skill. So that is the technical side of Iron Man's endgame uniform changes. Very little has been changed. You will almost not notice the changes if you do not have him at tier 3. I think if you have him at tier 3, you may be satisfied. But I think everyone who has him at tier 2 will not be satisfied. You're basically only getting a 1 skill change on his 1st skill. Yes, his healing has bumped up. Instead of being 3%, it's 5%, so he'll survive a little bit longer. He also has a 20% all defense versus his original 5%, but other than that, he's pretty much unchanged. So where can you really use Tony Stark? I don't know. I honestly don't know. There have been some rumors that he is better now for ABX, for Extreme Alliance Battle, and he may be able, at tier 3, to compete with Cable, given the new kind of situation in ABX with the Beast Roar and stuff like that. But let's get real. Are you really going to invest in a tier 3 Iron Man just to compete with a Cable that you already have, who doesn't need as much resources to be good? Probably not. And you're probably not even caring that much about it in the first place. And honestly, you take him into a pretty straightforward stage, and he's still unimpressive in a huge way. So we're gonna go against a stage 20 Thanos. Actually, you know what? Let's go against the stage 10 Thanos, because those are the requirements, or stage 9 Thanos. You have to beat him with Iron Man. So I want to show you guys what this looks like as I go Supernova from this crazy light. We're going to go ahead and use Coulson for the team up, and then we're going to also use Star-Lord for the 50% energy attack bonus. You know what? I'll be a little bit nicer. I'll even use Cyclops, so he gets the same 50%. He gets the 35 plus the 15, and then he will also get the 25%, if I can ever find Cyclops. He'll also get the 25% bonus from the all defense, so he'll be even more, tanky. And we'll bring along one healing striker just for fun. But this is what you can expect from a mythic endgame Iron Man. So I lowered the brightness here so I don't, make you go blind. Let's see what's going on here with Iron Man. I really don't have high expectations. I've got a CTP of Destruction, and I want to show you guys the new 4th skill. So if you wait until the very end, you'll see the explosions happen right there. Those are the explosions. He went into his next stage, so it's hard to tell, but I'll show you afterwards. If you notice, just above Thanos' head, you'll see the gray text that says, all defense down, immune. It's right there, and it's basically just why the all defense down doesn't work. And honestly, if the all defense down worked, maybe Iron Man would be a little bit better for World Boss Ultimate, and yeah, his damage is not bad, but it's really sad that this is all they could do for him, and it's really sad that they give him stats, and they don't really give him anywhere to use the stats. I mean, I don't really understand. I mean, I have over 400 raid levels, so that's why I'm kind of doing this stage well, but he basically plays exactly the same as before. You can use the 1 skill a little bit to kind of dodge around, but otherwise, it's basically just hit him with 5 and then do some other stuff. You can use 3 here. I'm not going for the optimal build here for Iron Man, but they could have given him something. They could have given iframe ignore. He just feels exactly the same as always. He's just regular old Tony. He's got the extra iframe, which is kind of nice, but I don't think it's going to really be enough to set him apart. It's kind of like War Machine. They just added an iframe and that's it. I don't know if they're planning to give them both new uniforms with Part 2, if there is a Part 2. I know there were a lot of Marvel Endgame toys that show a bunch of different looks for a lot of these characters. And I believe there was one a few months back that I covered in a video that looked as though it was like a War Machine Buster type uniform. But I still got debuffed, really? Okay. But other than that, I don't really know. I think that if this is the last look for Tony, for this update for Endgame, I think they need to be a little bit more. I'm not trying to be an asshole. Okay, let me be straight here. This sucks. They need to buff Tony, and they need to buff him, you know, ASAP. They either need to you know, let us know that there's something else in the pipeline, or they need to they need to respond in some way, because this is pretty tragic. I wouldn't buy this uniform yet. I would wait to see what the next update holds, if there is a Part 2, and if there are, you know, plans for more of these characters, because unlike some of the other uniforms, you know, unlike Thanos, who it looks insane already and you can kind of guarantee that uniform is going to kick ass, these uniforms just they're uninspired, especially you know, Iron Man, where they basically visually they changed one skill. They changed his 6th skill. Visually speaking, there's only one true skill change, and I can't even show you because I don't have him tier 3. And that's not an excuse. Don't get on me in the comments to fix it, to tier 3 him. But you know, there was very little work put into Iron Man's kit, and I don't really understand why. You know, he definitely deserves more than this. He's an original Avenger. I mean, even Captain America, and I'll do a video soon on him as well. He got visually. Captain America, I mean, yeah, okay, 2 minutes left, cool. I've got a high raid level, I'm giving him a bonus. But, I mean, like, you know, it's Iron Man. He deserves more than this. And it's basically the exact same skill rotation. It's basically the exact same playstyle as before. Even Captain America, by comparison, visually, he gets 2 skill changes. They completely changed his 3rd skill. It does something different. It has different effects on the enemies, and it makes Cap do different things. And they changed his 4th skill completely. So they do 2 complete skill changes for Captain America, and they only managed to do like 1. I mean, they basically just added the iframe to Twin Blade, and they added a couple of extra kind of semi-transparent Iron Mans to the skill effect, so that it looks slightly different. But if I put them side by side, you can barely tell. There's really only the 6th skill where they added something to the end of Jet Mode, but it doesn't even apply to World Boss. What is it for? It's for Shadowland? Okay, great, guys. Now you can, congratulations. You got your Endgame uniform for Iron Man. You can use him in Shadowland. Doesn't that make you super happy? You can get 1 extra Shadowland coin now. Great. So yeah, my advice for you guys would probably be to wait on Iron Man and to see if the uniform gets buffed, or to see if there's anything coming down the pipeline with a potential Part 2 Endgame that will give Tony more justice. Is Tony going to get 3 uniforms in 2 updates? I doubt it, but maybe with Part 2, if there are other uniforms for characters like Thor and Captain Marvel, as we've seen hinted from the Apple Store update description. These are not spoilers. This is just from the description that was released, like, you know, 3 or 4 days ago when the update went live on the App Store and the Play Store. If that is the case, hopefully they will take that time in the process of that update dropping and that maintenance time to change around Iron Man and give him a few buffs here, perhaps making his jet mode apply to world bosses, perhaps making those missiles happen at the beginning of the skill rather than at the end, because the skill has, you know, no defensive properties, and so flying that shit around just to shoot out the missiles at the end is super dangerous. Or they could add, you know, invincibility to this skill or something. I don't know, a 50% HP shield like Victorious has with her 4th skill. He just needs a little bit more, both offensively and defensively, you know, to be better. Maybe they could have improved his maneuver passive, given him some guaranteed dodge or something. I don't know. At this point, it's kind of like, I don't know. Iron Man's just not good enough, and it sucks. Anyways, I know how much you guys love Iron Man. Let me know what you guys think of the review. Let me know what you want to see next. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.